Cloud, sorry. Hey folks, you've missed Jill's introduction, but we've got this recording going on now, and she's talking about her new book. It's Corn Pickin' Time. So Jill's talking about the rhyme, and go ahead with that, Jill. Sorry to have stopped you, but I just saw my Post-it note.
That's okay. I did not want my rhyme to be clunky, so I threw that "This is the house that Jack built" structure out the window pretty early, but I kept a little bit of "this is the," because I was trying to, I tried to at first be very literary, and then I thought, oh, this is for little kids to find out what farming is like, and I need to be more declarative and narrow it down, keep the focus on the farmer and how they feel when the farm is ready to harvest and all that good stuff. So it probably honestly took me a few days to write it, and then I put it away because I didn't think it was good enough. And it wasn't until probably 3 years later that when my husband said, how about you write a book about farming? And I said, like what? Everything's been done. And then I realized maybe it hadn't. Yeah, so there's been nothing about the corn harvest. So I wrote this. And then when my agent sent it out, we had a nibble pretty quickly. And that editor said, I got 2 about corn picking, but I like yours better. And I thought, okay. And he said, but if I publish it, I want the farmer to be a woman. Is that all right with you? And I said, yes, sir, it is. 30% of the farmers are women. So, and we do know some farms that the women drive the combine. So I thought, perfect. So
yeah, getting hearts on that. People are loving that. Yeah.
One of my grandsons, he is 6, and when it's dedicated to him because he's Mr. Farmer, and he saw the cover and he goes, what? A woman combine driver. Yes, Leo, there are women combine drivers.
Well, I was going to ask how that came about. That's interesting to know. But throughout it, it doesn't matter male or female. This certainly describes what it's like on the farm and how that goes to. The next part about this that I don't know where it came from, if it was part of the submission or if it was a later thing, but this has some of the most phenomenal back matter associated with any agriculture book. This is just awesome back matter. Tell us a little bit about your back matter process and how you chose to put what is in there.
Thank you. I never used to write back matter. And when I wrote a book called Jack Knight's Brave Flight, that editor said, you need some good back matter. And I said, like what? And she said, like the history of the U.S. mail. And I said, do kids want to know that? And she said, sometimes kids don't know what they want to know until they see it. And
I love that.
Bing. So from then on, I almost always write back matter, even in a fictional book. I add back matter because it helps an editor to sell a book to a committee, for one thing, but it just takes it further. It takes the learning farther, even if you didn't think you needed it. There it is. And in this, I tried to think about those kids who don't live on farms or don't live on small towns and might never have seen this process, and what kinds of questions would they ask. So it's basic questions that I had to look up and make sure I knew what I was talking about and ask my husband and other people. But it's like, is the corn in this book the kind we eat? And it explains the difference between sweet corn and field corn and all the different things we make using field corn. Can farmers be women, like in this book? How fast does a combine go? And I explain you can outrun a combine that's working, even a kid. What do farmers do in the cab all day? Do farmers stop to eat lunch? Is a combine hard to steer? All the kinds of questions a little kid might go, want to know more.
So I'm going to take it a little further and sell this book for you in another direction, Jill. You know how many adults don't know this stuff either? So yes. Those kids sometimes grow up to be adults and don't understand it either. I think this is perfectly written for kids of any age, 2 to 102, to figure out what actually happens on the farm. So
I had a friend who moved here from New Jersey, and she was astounded at the size of the fields. And she said, how do you get all the corn picked before it goes bad? Because she thought it was all sweet corn. Right. So,
and then that whole idea of drying down and brown, that's the going bad part. So just that explanation to adults of all ages. And I think from a editorial committee, from a when you're trying to sell this book, even with your agent, something tells me your agent probably didn't have much background in corn picking either. So
she did not, but she was wild about it. She said every kindergarten in America needs this book, and I said, well, let's hope. So
I'm gonna up it a little bit. I think it's K through at least 6. So
I hope.
just because of the flow and how it works. So and pre-K, I think they'll be in it because of the constant and solid rhyme that you've got, and ways that we can work this in across the board. So
Well, and
uh,
you know how little kids love vehicles. My 1.5-year-old grandson sees this and goes because of the combine. Wants to read
well,
it. Okay.
so you're able to incorporate in some uh, facts about your farm, what you've known. One of the questions that we often get is with working with writers is how did they illustrate it, or where did their illustrator comes from? Can you help those potential authors out there what your role is with illustration throughout the whole process?
Well, in most books, I have no say, or once in a while, an editor will say, "What about this person's style?" Or once they sent me 3 different websites and said, pick your favorite," and then they didn't take that person. So in this case, my agent wanted to work with an agent friend using my manuscript and one of her agent friend's illustrators. So Melissa kind of interviewed, not, we didn't talk to her, but she kind of tried out. She sent us some ideas of what she thought it might look like maybe. And we liked it so much, we said, yeah, let's do that. So those 2 agents sent my work with a few of Melissa's pictures to editors. And that's how, so we were a package deal from the beginning, which is very rare. We just don't see that very often. I don't. So that was nice. But all the way through, they kept showing me the latest PDFs. And I said, are we going for a representation, or do we want reality, really true pictures? And they said, we want reality. So there were just things that I had to throw in my expertise in a very kind way to the editor, and then they would relay it to Melissa, like the auger was on the wrong side of the combine, things like that.
And the little things that about
Yeah,
this that the
yeah,
average person wouldn't by looking at a picture or
right. And when you
understanding.
have no farm background, it would be terribly hard, I think, to try to research this and become an expert enough that you could illustrate a book. So yeah, I loved helping in that
Uh,
way.
and share a little bit about how you helped, because it's not like she lived next door. You're communicating
Right,
up the chain and over, and it goes back
right,
down, that kind of thing. So
right.
how did
Well,
you help?
well, like they sent me the latest PDFs, and what do you see that looks off, or like a lot of people would do. She had a lot of ears on every stalk, and that doesn't reflect reality. Um, she didn't have any steps on the combine, just little things about what a hopper looked like on the top of the combine. Um, what happens when the auger swings out, what that looks like, what the shape of the corn is when you dump it into a wagon out of an auger, what the shape of that corn is. It isn't square and it isn't pointed. It's like it is in the book.
Loopy,
So yeah,
yeah.
everything, even that kind of thing. It was really, really interesting to have
So
a part of it.
I was going to get back to, you said your son helped too because he had some drone footage that he was able to share with her to show what went on. So tell a little bit about your family and how their involvement, from your grandson all the way up to your son and your husband.
Well, my son and my husband farm together. My son's also a carpenter, so he he's here, when it's time to plant and harvest, and he's helping all with all that stuff. And we have another son who actually is a grain merchandiser in Davenport, and he comes out and helps on weekends when he can. And I drive the tractor that pulls the wagon, and the kids ride along when we let them, because it's something you don't want to encourage too much. It's not very safe. So once in a while they get a ride. Everybody has a hand in it.
Well, I just thought, that was, you shared that earlier, but one of my favorite parts is I love the aspect that the illustrator took of your voice in this. But those of you who've seen it before, at one point in time, and the corn whooshes out, and this might be my favorite spread in the whole book. I mean, there's cool spreads, but it just, there's a sound that goes along with it. And you've been able to capture that so lyrically that even kids driving by on a school bus from the little towns and see it, they can sense and understand that. So just an outstanding piece of work with it. So, and the author and the illustrator, they typically don't work together, but you've written 65 books and they're behind you there, but you've written another books. Given your Iowa background, the pumpkin book that makes a lot of sense. You got pumpkins there. The corn book makes a lot of sense. I love the National Geographic Winter Wonderland, so you never know what winter's going to look like in different parts. But help me with some research that you did on penguins, because something tells me you didn't go to Antarctica.
Oh, I wish. Wouldn't that be nice? Um, yeah, they don't invest that kind of money in me, but when I'm writing something for National Geographic Kids, the great thing about research is there are some wonderful animal research sites online, especially like the San Diego Zoo has fantastic information. But National Geographic themselves have a lot of articles and websites that can tell you a lot about animal behavior. I'm always interested in the animal behavior because I don't want to say penguins are black and white. I want to tell kids something that will make them go, oh, I didn't know that. So when I find something like that, I know I want to include it. Because if I don't know it, then maybe they don't either,
Right.
unless they're avid watchers of wildcats. But for penguins, I used all those online sources. And I went to the library and I got some kids' books about penguins and looked at those too. And you can't use anything exact, of course, word wise, but you gotta become a penguin expert almost, even though you don't. I mean, I've seen penguins, but yeah, you kind of have to become an expert. There are books where I have contacted colleges where like zoology people are banding some kind of bird out in the wild, or I talked to somebody that was one of the people that studies polar bears at that town in northern Canada where they always show up.
The polar bears, yeah, okay, yeah.
So, I talked to that person. It's a very interesting job. I used to be terrified to write to people like that, and then I've been out there also helpful. They want the information to be accurate as badly as I do, so they're usually very kind and great about answering questions.
And not only do you have to take what is out there and make it make sense, but at a much lower grade level. And how do you what parts are the most important parts, and what can we skip this part to make sure it is all staying there? I think that really goes to my next question about you said that you wrote the corn book, you put it away for a couple of years, then you came back. And you shared with me earlier, this one came a little quick. It came quickly, that kind of stuff. But how long does a typical book take for you to write? If you were to put the stopwatch on, how long does it take?
Well, the problem with writing fiction is that I don't necessarily know the entire story when I sit down to write. I might have a character that I love and a situation that would be fun, or I might even know an ending, but how do I get there? So if I really buckle down, I can do it in 2 weeks, but then that doesn't mean it's done. That means I get a draft and then I sit back and go, yes. And then I play with it for another 2 weeks or maybe a month, put it away for a few days, get it out again, pretend it's somebody else's that I can really criticize because it's, you have to be very dispassionate about your work. You want it to, when you send something into a publisher, you're competing with 20 or 30,000 other people. So they can't possibly make everybody happy. So rejection is also a big part of this career. You get rejected all the time, and it's just not right for them at the time, and you go move on to the next person. So anyway, the corn picking book, when I got it out again, I realized it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, and I started playing around with it and adding onomatopoeia and make it a little more voicey and a little more fun, and making sure all the verbs were doing a lot of duty, not just was and is, and trying to come up with great verbs and just trying to make the language sing.
Make the language sing and make the language all a part of it. I think that's a really good point there. Two things I wanted to pick up on this stuff that you'd shared earlier. The somebody's knocking on my door, so I'm going to ignore them. We're good. But you talked about rejection. Do you remember your first rejection?
Um, yeah, they actually wrote me a note and said, try us again. And
Awesome.
I didn't know at the time how good that was. I just thought, oh, I used to send things when I didn't have an agent. I would send things out to 3 places, and if they all rejected me, I just wouldn't send that out again. And it took a few years to realize that's not how you do it. You
Uh,
have to keep knocking on that door. So,
Now,
yeah.
do you have a literary critique group that you work with, or are you more solo?
I have a couple of friends who we shoot manuscripts back and forth pretty regularly, and it's just nice to get another professional's first take. I don't even mind if it's somebody that if somebody was interested who doesn't even write, it'd be interesting because they would be the first, like if they could be an average bookstore customer who goes in and picks it up, and what part of it doesn't make sense, what part of it needs work, what part of it's working great, what part of it was confusing. Every all input is valuable.
Well, for our aspiring authors out there, I am a huge advocate and proponent of the Society for Children's Books Writers and Illustrators,
Yes.
SCBWI. I'll put that out there. Don't send me books to read. You don't want to do that. But find a critique group that talks about that. I just think that's really important for people to continue to grow. And I think that goes back to my corn stuff too. We prepare the soil, the farmer prepares this is corn picking, but to get there, you got to plant it. And what happened over the winter and how, I mean, not to say there might be another book in here, pre-corn
Oh,
picking
Kevin.
time,
Oh,
but
Kevin. Funny you should
no,
mention
but for you, think about that. The aspect of to build up to it,
that. Yeah.
we're celebrating the harvest and everybody's really excited about it. But what about the waiting? And what about
I did it
November?
backwards, didn't I? I wrote one about let the planting begin, and I sent it to the same editor, and she said, "Oh, I love this, but we have to wait and see how this sells."
Well, I think,
So
oh, good.
we'll
I
buy
didn't
it.
know that, but I think you are right on. I will add that to it as the prequel.
Yeah,
So
it's
I, I
backwards.
think, I think that is awesome. So, now you've written a lot of books. You've written a lot of books. They're there behind you. It, which one's your favorite? I know it's hard. They're all like your children, but I have three. I can tell you which one my favorite right now. It'll change
Well, I'll
tomorrow,
tell you
but
right now. Right now, my favorite is this one because it's been so easy to market. Because it's not just something I made up out of my head that I have to then convince people is worth buying, and you'll really like it. That's a really hard thing for us to do. But this one is like, I contacted an ag magazine who interviewed me, and there's gonna be an article in there, and I contacted a little local newspaper that has a farm section once a month, once a year. They're gonna have me in there, and I took it to the John Deere store, and I said, I know it's blasphemy, but there's a green tractor in here if you want
there
to.
is a green tractor in here. There's green
I
equipment.
took it. I took it to the machine shed, which is a restaurant around here, which has a gift shop, and I said, come on. I took it to the truck stop, the I-80 truck stop, the giant one by Walcott, Iowa. That's just a few miles from me. I took it there. It's just very easy to sell because it's not out there yet. And it's something kids should know, I think.
Well,
So,
and speaking of that, one of the things that you also do, you do presentations. You will jump on live. You'll go do school presentations. Let's talk a little bit about what you do and your favorite parts of that.
uh, school visits are, fabulous because I get to go talk to kids about writing and about a little bit about life and about revision. The older kids, especially like third, fourth, fifth graders, I love because we can talk about how your first draft, which, if the teacher says you have to write a first draft and then a final copy, and they groan, which I used to do too when I was a kid. And now that I'm a writer, I know that the first draft is nothing. It's the, yeah, I got it. And now the real work begins because about 90% of trying to get a publishable draft is rewriting, revision. It's revision, revision, revision. And so we play around with that idea. And with younger kids, I like to talk about animals because I have all those animal books. I have a lot of animal books. So I have a slideshow that I use for a jumping off point, and it's just a blast. I have a lot of fun. I had a teacher come up to me after a school visit, and it was second graders, that I had been talking to, and they all ran up and started hugging me and wanting to tell me stories about this or that. And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry. They think you're their new best friend." And I said, "That's exactly what I'm hoping for when I come here to talk to them. I want them to know that I am them, because I was a small town kid too. Whoever thought that about writing a book? I mean, I made little books when I was a kid, but I had no idea that that was an option as an adult. So I want them to know they can be anything. Everybody comes from somewhere. So I don't know. I
Oh,
like talking about writing and how to write a fiction story and how to write nonfiction, how you decide what is in a nonfiction story or article that you're writing. Um, what information do you use and what information do you keep out? We talk about that, and you'd be sorry you asked me this because I could go on and on, but it's
I
really
love
fun
this.
for
This
me.
is awesome.
I have been told that I'm very engaging, so let's hope that continues. It's fun.
Well, and
Fun.
I'm going to send you some of my notes later, but everybody comes from somewhere. That's another great book title right there. So I
Yeah,
think that would be a cool one too. Just your passion for explaining that. But if people want to find out more, you have a website. You can share if you've got it pulled up.
I don't.
Well,
Um,
jump on
I
and
have a
share.
slide
Let's
deck.
let's let's do that and show them your. I can pull it up. Sorry, I
My
can do that.
website, okay, but I have a slide deck that I have a curriculum materials for I think 3 of my books so far that are on my homepage, jillesbaum.com. They're accessible there and you can download them. They're free. They're for you to use as you wish. There's one coming for corn picking time, and I could show you a little bit of it if you want to see it.
Well, I'm going to jump on and show them your website first here
Okay.
at jillesbaum.com. So I'm sharing that. And this showcases, I believe, yep, there we are. I'm doing my screen share here, but this showcases about how to contact you for your author visits and all of your other books. And then it's over here under the learning. So your free
Well,
educator
if you, yeah,
resources.
yeah.
Yeah. So again, excellent website to explore more about it. I'm going to stop sharing. And you said you have a slide deck you wanted to share, so
I
I'll let
do.
you.
Just it's in the process of being made yet, so it's not done, but I could show you a little bit of it. Oh, what does that mean? Share. Let's see. Desktop one. Oh, I guess I can't. Okay, never mind. But there's going to be extensive curriculum materials about this book. And I know you have some too, which is you're going to have so much to choose from. It's amazing. So just keep following. If you follow me on Facebook, I'm author Jill Esbaum. And as soon as this is ready, which should be sometime next week, I will post that and it'll be there for anybody to use however they wish.
Well, I've got a couple more questions here. I scribbled down.
Okay.
You talked about, you do stuff, you put it away, you come back to it. How many projects are you juggling at a time? Just rough estimate.
Right now on my desktop, there's 8 or 9 folders that I have partial stories in, or a great idea that's like 2 lines, and I haven't done anything else with it. So it's I've got a whiteboard right here, and I've got all the things I've done this year and what the date I sent them to my agent. So I can feel like I can look at that and go, wow, I've done a lot this year. Um, but yeah, there's a lot going on at once. That doesn't mean that I'm going to finish all 9 of those in the next few months or year, but that means they're in here percolating, and eventually they will come to the forefront and I will feel compelled to have to work on one. So
Well, and something tells me some of the time that you get driving a grain cart and waiting at the end of a field and moving things around and different hours, you might get a chance to percolate a little more by yourself or just waiting. The
I
hurry up and
always
wait game.
I always have a book to read, and I always have a notebook and a pen. Yes.
So this is a question for me. What are you reading right now?
What am I reading right now? Well, right now I just started an adult book by Kristen Hanna called The Women, about nurses in Vietnam. So I just started that one.
Awesome,
Not a kid's
awesome.
book, but
Not a kid's book, but again, who knows what I'm thinking there could be a kid's book about that,
that's
and
that's
where
true.
that would come from. So yeah,
That's you never know.
just giving your back. Oh, there we go. Rachel, somebody looked like Rachel says The Women is such a great book. So
Oh,
add
good.
that to your list, folks. They're doing that. Again, if you have questions, go ahead and put those into the chat. I'll be happy to field those with them. But how about this? is there something in the pipe that is coming to a bookstore near us soon that you have in the pipe, or are we still in the percolating stage?
No, there's a couple that are coming. I have a little series with paw prints, which is owned by Baker and Taylor, except they just sold to somebody else, called Be Bold, and it's a little picture book, and there's also a board book of the same cover, but the words are slightly different. And there's another one coming out next year about a baby giraffe called Giraffe Runs. And I have a series about animals with superpowers. That's a lot of fun. That's informational fiction. And the next one comes out in May, maybe, and it's called Horned Toad Has a Superpower. And as you may know, horned toads are the little desert creatures that can actually squirt blood out of their eye to scare coyotes, for instance. So, and those are all illustrated by Bob Shea. So those are a blast. He's really talented and more well known than I am. So, yay.
So this spurred on another question. From corn, you know something about to horned toads with superpowers. Help me with that jump, especially
Well,
since you're reading about the women of Vietnam. So
I love, yeah, see, I have varied interests. I love writing about animals. That started for National Geographic. National Geographic, my very first books for them was the Pumpkin book and an Apples book in the same series. And
right.
I think every first grade in America probably has those. Those were work for hire, so I was paid a certain amount and then I never get anything else. So unfortunately, they sell really, really well, which is great. So that it's apples, pumpkins, spring, winter, and then there's one about cherry blossoms too. That's a spring one. And that's how I got in with them. And then that worked into more and more books. And a lot of those turned out to be about animals. And that kind of turned me on to writing about animals because every animal, they're so fascinating and they're so different in their behavior. And I really got turned on writing about animals. And one particular book I did for National Geographic was Angry Birds Rainforest, and it's a lot of animals that live in the rainforest. And one of those was the stink bird. And that I liked so much, I wrote a whole book about it, and that's what started the superpower series. And stink bird has a superpower. Next one was parrotfish has a superpower, and this summer was polecat has a superpower, and next year is horned toad has a superpower. And they're on some state lists. They've been on state lists, and Stinkbird won in Ohio. So I like those two equally.
Yeah, awesome,
My babies
awesome.
too.
Your babies, yeah, award winners. That's really cool. One question, folks. I do have a couple prize packages. Actually, I got 5 of them. I've got 5 of Jill's books paired with some of our materials later, but it's not just a random drawing. It's not just a random drawing. You got to prove that you watched it, and that's how you're going to get it. In a minute, there's going to be a QR code, so get your QR devices out so you can scan to win. But you got to answer the magic question. You got to answer the magic question. You talked a little bit about this cool the background, and we got our illustrator. You know, she's got red and she's got green. How did your husband feel about this? What color are you on the farm there in Iowa?
Well, we do actually have one John Deere tractor, but for the most part, we are red.
There you go, folks. So that's going to be our magic question for you. You're going to have to fill it out. I'll give it to you in a second here. You'll look on the phone. There'll also be a website you can there'll also be a website you can see though, which is fine. All right. So we'll have that for you, but I wanted to let you know you got to have the magic word. And as soon as we leave here, I'm leaving for the weekend, got to be out of town. We'll have a chance for you to fill out that form by between now and Monday. That's when we'll draw our prizes. So that's when I'll draw my prizes and get those shipped out to you. But so we've got the what's next. We got the what's to look forward to. Jill, I just can't tell you what a pleasure it's been. The one thing I would like to do, we talked about different parts of the book, and I'll give you a minute here to think about this. But if you could share one passage from the book, could you read part of the passage for us? Don't want to spoil it. Don't want to spoil it. Everybody's going to run out and buy their book or win a prize from me. But what's one of your favorite passages, just to kind of give them an example of the flow and I'm going to say the passion that you bring to this.
Well, I'll skip into where we really get down to the action because there's prep stuff, but I like this. This is the cornhead that, because, so kids know what things are called. This is the cornhead that clatters and knocks as chains grab and gobble the autumn dry stalks. This is the spreader that spins clack, clack, clack to scatter the chaff being spit out the back. I like that because it's hard to figure out how to tell kids that in rhyme and not have it be too cheesy or, overblown. And I just want it to sound like we're talking, but I wanted it.
And you mentioned the onomatopoeia that you've put in there I read this to actually she read it to me. I was driving and she's like, oh my gosh, that's totally what this sounds like. She was back in the combine. Yeah. So looks like you're looking for something else.
Yeah. And I love the dryer because I love the smell of that roasting corn. I don't know if this is the dryer so frightfully loud and billows of steamy roast corn scented cloud. That is the best smell.
You have to have it. If we could bottle it, make a candle out of it, maybe we do something. You just have to have it. So, yeah. So, well, thank you so much. I'm going to give one last question. People are really worried about the phone thing. I'm going to give you can log on, you can do that kind of thing. It'll all be good. But any other questions in the chat, put those in. We'll do that. But yeah, here we go. Somebody put it in. Oh, they're watching from their phone. Yep. Okay. We're going to give you a chance for you can do that. I'm going to give you the address that you can type in. It'll all be great. All right. It's pretty simple. All right. With that, Jill, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your book. Again, huge plug for It's Corn Pickin' Time.
This is not a question.
Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead. Nope. Nope, they're off. They can't wait to get the book. That's awesome. So, but Jill, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to share some of our resources. And as soon as Jill's resources come online, we'll share those on our social media. So follow us on our Facebook. You need to be signed up to follow her on her Facebook too. She'll be promoting that. But one of the things I wanted to share was some of our materials, the Illinois Ag in the Classroom materials. And I'm going to share my screen. Maybe share. Yep. I'm going to go back and I'm going to share my screen. And our website, agintheclassroom.org, real quick here. So there's Jill's site. One of the things that you could look at on our website, agintheclassroom.org, that I'm very excited about is this called Awesome Agriculture. This is called Awesome Agriculture. And what we have with Awesome Agriculture here is some of our teacher friends might be familiar with Mystery Science. And in my personal life, I'm president of our local school board, and we pay the subscription fee for it. And I love the concept about how it came from. And Mystery Science, our friend Doug, he's from Illinois. That's awesome. But how might we be able to take that and add some of our own questions? How could we add some of our own questions? So ours on Awesome Agriculture is corn. So I'll click on our corn one here, and our corn one will take us to an Awesome Agriculture site. We'll take an Awesome Agriculture site, and our corn question goes perfectly with this. It goes great with Jill's back matter. But what we've done is, just like in Mystery Science and the others, we're going to ask a question. And my question for this is, how'd corn get in my Cheetos? Did you know there's corn in our Cheetos? So if you go here, we ask the question, and then we go out to a farmer. We go out to a farmer, and they go through it. We give a little bit of background. I've got staff that gives a little bit of background, and we turn it over to a farmer who's going to talk about what happens. And through this, he kind of does the same thing. Here's the difference between popcorn, sweet corn. There's the combine. You get in the combine, and you actually hear what happens, and then he dumps it. and he takes you through the whole process. So don't want to share it. I don't want to share it all, but that's the process. So we've got our question. We've got our question. How did corn get in my Cheetos? You'll watch the video, and then we've got activities for you, a number of activities. So this first one is a tassel to table activity. And tassel to table, we've got a couple of them, but literally, you can make a chain. So how did corn get in there? How did we end up in the Cheetos? That kind of stuff. Well, it starts as a corn and it grew into corn, and there's a combine. All these things are available on our website, and that's part of it. But then the other part, we've got some ways that you could learn, things that you could learn from additionally, and those would be our resources. In Illinois, contact your local county ag literacy coordinator. You don't know who that is? Check it out on our website. But we got a brand new corn ag mag, so perfect for those fourth graders. If you got upper level students, we have a reader. We call these readers, but it doesn't look so childish. For our little kids, we've got one-page little readers. Again, to talk about this would be perfect to complement. It's corn picking time for our kids. We also have one of those on popcorn, because Jill talks about the difference between popcorn, sweet corn, field corn. All those things are different where it comes from. We are in the process of putting together a brand new, I saw it earlier today, but we're really close on a new junior ag mag. Our ag mags are written at about the fourth grade level. Our little readers, they're written for kindergarten and first grade. But we've got a second, third grade level one as well. These are available online. This is our Apple one, but we will have one available on corn coming soon. And then in case anybody's interested, we do have these available in Spanish as well. So I have them in Spanish as well. So if you have language learners, or pass it on to your pass that kindergarten one on to your high school Spanish teacher. If we could get kids at the high school Spanish learning about agriculture, that'd be great too. So those are things that are available. And as you scroll on down, so we got extra resources on awesome agriculture. Then we got discussion questions. And for you teachers, not only do we have the questions, but we've got the answers too. So you can discuss it. Again, the lesson is all set up here for you. Then we've got review assessments. Kahoot is so 2020. We've got a booklet here, but we've got activities for you, or a printable student assessment, all wrapped up in the same part here to go. And then a cool video. Our video here is from Unwrapped from the Food Network, and they talk about making Cheetos. So once the corn gets there, how do they make a Cheeto? So we've got that. And then a couple of other things, including additional resources back to our website, and other things that we have. Plus, a couple of our other favorite books. And Jill talked about, not a lot of books out there on corn. A couple of them, and I'll just put a plug in for an Illinois author. Again, Jill, you're pretty close. You're 40 minutes away or whatever. But Gail Gibbons, gotta love Gail Gibbons. Gail Gibbons, Corn. This is the perfect book to talk about everything corn from her perspective, and her whole idea of systems and how things work together. Just a great book. Then we've got another great book by Chris Peterson on popcorn, and this is Popcorn Country. A little tidbit on this one, Chris and her photographer actually interviewed popcorn farmers in Central Illinois for this, and the photographer took pictures of the popcorn in Central Illinois. Chris is a Wisconsin native. And then another really cool book called Slime King, and you're making your own slime, and we make our slime out of cornstarch. So that's another activity to go along with that. So that is everything that is available on our Awesome Ag website. And again, we've got these available on a number of different topics, and we're continuing to work with more. And again, you've seen our resources, our ag mags, all of those materials. But another thing I want to show real quick is several of our lessons. Sorry, I wanted to highlight a couple of our lessons, so I'm going to go back up to the home page. And if you go to our website, agintheclassroom.org, if you go to our website, and at the here under teacher resources, that's where you'll find our ag mags. That's where you'll find all of the materials that I just shared. But we also have this section called lessons. And if you click on lessons, you can actually search by topic. So a number of these are right here for you, broken down by pre-K to 2, 3 to 5, and 6 to 8th grade lessons. So a couple of things that I am including in the packet to the 5 who win, but you can save these. One of them is do your own packing peanuts, making your own packing peanuts. Kind of a cool activity here. It's cornstarch-based packing peanuts. Now, I only do this once a day, but these are cornstarch-based packing peanuts. And back before COVID, one of the activities we used to do with our corn-based packing peanuts was lick them and stick them together. Now you gently dab them because, you know, we don't lick and stick things anymore. Kindergartners, I'm pretty sure they still do all the time. But the other part about this is to you can eat them. They taste a little like generic Cheetos, but it's okay. That too shall pass, right? So just a unique aspect to talk about where the corn comes from. But we've got a lesson on here on the DIY packing peanuts. Another cool thing you could do is with your packing peanuts, make them into ghosts for Halloween, because hopefully your husband will be finished up with harvest by Halloween, Jill. But we make them into ghosts and then put them in the water, and all of a sudden the ghosts disappear. So we'll make that a Halloween thing as well. Popcorn, the difference between popcorn, field corn, sweet corn. We've got a couple activities to go along with popcorn as well. But even for our upper level students, some really cool things to go along with, especially, I'm scrolling down here too, corn plant genetics and the genetics that go along with corn, to introduce how do we get certain traits and what are we looking for, and some of the DNA using, making it with paper clips. How do we get these things to go together and how it all works? So those are resources that we have available. Additionally, I'm going to put a plug in for our friends at the Illinois Corn Growers Association. And if you go to ilcorn.org, most people probably aren't going to be familiar with that, but go on over to ilcorn.org, take a look at their resource page, and jump down to ag education. And we'll just pick on the grade school thing. A number of really cool lessons, but one of the things this was new to me, I hadn't seen it. They have some coloring sheets, they have some cool stuff like that. But one I'm going to put a plug in for you with Jill is you're going to put this with your book, and we're going to go here to I got to find it now. Why am I not finding it? Origami. Maybe it's, oh goodness. I'm on grade school resources, ag education. Here we go. Let's see. Coloring books and sheet. Corn is everywhere. Well, we got one on origami. And I will pull, there it is, corn origami. Sorry. Really cool thing that you print off. And it comes in a one-page sheet, and you do some folding and some, I know, Jill, write that down. I saw your jaw drop.
I am.
And half of the piece of paper you fold to become the ear of corn, and the other half you fold to become the stalk. Now it is still a little green, so this isn't ready for harvest yet, but the corn origami, and it has the facts, literally just the same facts and back matter that Jill talks about in her activity. One of the things I would change on this, Jill, is it says, 96% of the Illinois farms are family owned. I think that's great. Illinois is number 2 in corn, behind Iowa, so you can change that too, Jill. But how about the 30% of farmers that are women? We can add to this. They could make their own to go along with it. So just some great activities there. Corn origami, that's a really cool one from our friends at the Illinois Corn Growers Association. I was going to highlight a couple of others from the middle school, from their middle school lesson. I really like, this is a great worksheet right here, talking about where the corn comes from and the development of it. But another one here is the mystery of corn. Science and history combined, talking about corn. All right, so it's all there, all ready for you to do. And then, of course, the last one I'll share here is under resources. Let's go back to our high school activity, and that is a tale of two corns. So it talks about the difference between sweet corn and field corn, the differences of corn. So again, those are there. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to stop the share there. And I'm going to go to my last slide, and my last slide is here. And you guys can write this down. You guys can write this down and get there, but I got to go share, share screen 3. Here you go. Those of you who have access to the to your phone, it is the access to the phone. There's the QR code that will take you there, or you can go right directly to the website for the prize. Get a sign up for the prize. http://IAITC.co. So for Illinois Ag in a Classroom.co/corn prize. Head there, answer the questions, make sure you give the answer. What color is everything on? What color is everything on Jill's farm? All right, answer the question and do that. Those of you who reply by Monday, I have a 1-hour certificate saying that you signed up. That and $1.50 will get you a cheap cup of iced tea at the quick stop on the way there, but it's you can prove that you did it, right? So I'm not giving professional development, but you can say that we sat through this. So that is what we've got. So I'll put it out there one last time for any questions and see what we have. But Jill, how about anything else spur your mind, see what's up?
No, I just want to tell my daughter about all this. She's a homeschool mom, so I'm thinking there's a lot here.
I mailed you some stuff. I don't know if it got there yet, but I put some of this stuff in, and don't worry, there'll be a package coming again later. So.
All right, thank you. You made this so easy, Kevin.
Well, we are I can't tell you how much we really enjoyed it. The website one more time, http://IAITC.co/corn prize. So I'm going to actually put it in the chat. Then you'll have it in the chat. http://IAITC.co/corn prize. There you go. I'm sending that AITC. I'm sometimes the world's worst speller, Jill. So I just want to double check. There we go. And I can only do so many things at once, but that should take you right to the link there and the website. So with that, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Jill, we are super excited about your book, really promoting it hard and heavy, and because it's corn picking time, folks, across central Illinois, across southern Illinois, across everywhere, and even in Iowa, it's that time, and thank you so much. In addition to the planting time, how about, we kind of need some soybean books too. Just going to put that out there. There's a couple. There's a couple. My favorite is Auntie Yang's Great Soybean Picket. I love Ray Beal's The Super Soybean, but we could do some soybean books too, because nobody, I think they don't understand corn. They have no idea about beans either. So that's there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody else, thank you so much for joining us. I'll stay on for just a minute, but have a great weekend. Thanks, folks.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye. And with that, I'm going to stop recording. If anybody else has any questions, please let me know.